rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I'm looking at the Trump Spaces, and I'm not seeing anybody talking yet, or at least I can't tell if anybody's talking yet. So I'm going to try and get the space to come on here. Hopefully when it comes up, you guys will be able to hear it. But anyway, we'll just have to kind of see. I don't know. Last time there was some technical difficulties and things didn't work out, but at least I'm in the space right now. So we'll see what we can do here for it. Oh my gosh, that's like a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's not muted, so it should come up when it's ready. So we're going to give hopefully it'll show up. We'll just have to see. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to welcome to the American Perspective broadcast channel with me, your host. Wow. So much to talk about as far as what happened over the weekend. I wanted to wait a little bit to get some of the details before I actually commented about it. And it's definitely something that I can't even believe. I can't even imagine. We have essentially two attempts on a former president's life and the Republican candidate for president. And this is just bad. All right, before we get into this though, and maybe before the spaces goes, I would like to go ahead and get our I'm dying. Our pledge out of the way. Tonight is Pops McGroin and partner performing the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat, or if you have one, place your hand over your heart and follow along with Pops as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
Yes, God bless America and God bless Donald Trump. All right. Thank you for that, Pops and partner. And of course, if you want to hear your version here on the program, it's really easy to do. All you have to do is get yourself, record yourself digitally, of course, but record yourself doing the Pledge of Allegiance and then send me that audio file. Send it into fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I haven't seen Tommy yet, but Tommy's friend,
I'm muted. Check. Just checking that everybody can hear me. Check 1 2. May I get some thumbs up for the audience? Before you go, just a quick disclaimer. A few quick reminders before we begin. You should.
Okay, so it sounds like what they're going to be doing. So it sounds like they're going to be talking here. I see the host, and it sounds like I can carry it. So I will do my best to carry it along for you guys, or present it here once Donald Trump gets going here. As usual, he's probably late. So anyway, the thing about it is, where was I? Oh, I was talking about sending in your program. So once you do that, and G, otherwise known as Woodens, I got yours. I'll play it coming up here in the next couple of days. All right, so we got a new one there. So there we go. And No, buddy, I am not going to take any frustration on X out on you. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I just want to tell you real quick about True Grit Roots Network, tgrn.net. True Grit Roots Network is a 24/7 on TGRN Blues, a 24/7 365 blues station that you can listen to by going to tgrn.net. And tgrn.net allows you to listen through the browser, as well as you can also download our app and listen there. Or if you already have the Live 365, iHeartRadio, or the Odyssey, AUDACY apps, you can listen. You can find us in their catalog of digital radio stations. Go to tgrn.net, check out all of our weekly programs and encore presentations over the weekend. It is just fantastic for it. And, if you love the blues, and believe me, our on-air personalities bring all kinds of information, facts, etc. to the blues, and to give you a unique perspective on the blues right on TGRN Blues. Go and check us out, tgrn.net, and, obviously take a listen. We do appreciate that for you, and, or of you, I should say, of you. We appreciate that of you, for the support. And TGRN, True Grit Roots Network, is based out of Austin, Texas. All right. So obviously we ended up with an attempt, and the left, of course, is immediately talking about the right, in particular, J.D. Vance and Donald Trump's supposed rhetoric with regards to Springfield, Ohio, because apparently a lot of people are unhappy over there, and they are, and I'm not condoning this in any way. I want you to understand straight up, political violence is not approved on this channel. I don't approve of it. I think it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy, and definitely bad to do. Very bad to do. But all of that being said, the left, of course, is immediately trying to blame Donald Trump and J.D. Vance for bringing to light the plight of the Springfield, Ohio situation. And unfortunately, there are some very sick individuals in this world. We all can agree with that one. And they are definitely causing problems. What's happening is they are essentially, calling in bomb threats and things like that. Apparently, several schools over the past few days have had to be evacuated. They had some government buildings that had to be evacuated. They had some other things that were going on that had to be evacuated. Even today there was another one. There's reports of Haitians having their car windows busted, things of that nature. And keep in mind, okay, this is for the people who have come here legally. This is not anything to do with them. It's all of the illegal aliens that have been brought in by this administration that are causing all of these challenges and problems. If this administration had not done what they did by opening up the border, we wouldn't be in this particular situation. We wouldn't be here. The other thing is that in terms of Donald Trump having a attempt, and yes, I am going to call it an attempt, because the gentleman was essentially set up waiting with his rifle. This is all the information that has come out over the last 24 hours, which I'm trying to understand how we can have so much information about this guy, but we still don't know jack crap about the Butler scenario and what the hell happened there. But what essentially my understanding in terms of the first reports is this guy had a rifle poking through a chain link fence at the golf course. He had put up backpacks full of ceramic tile. Now, for those of you that don't know, ceramic is one of the things that is used for bullet resistant vests. Okay. And one of the things that he had put 2 of them up on ostensibly to try and avoid getting hit by being shot at, presumably by Secret Service. And luckily enough, the Secret Service agents were about 2 holes ahead of Donald Trump. They cleared the path and they found him. They saw him. They obviously fired. There's no information as of yet that I'm aware of that that he fired, that he had fired them, but he had originally gotten away. He drove away. The cops, the local sheriff's department was able to track him down because a witness gave the license plate and description of the vehicle that the guy got into. Allegedly, he is, he's been in and out of jail. He's been arrested. He's been over to Ukraine. He's actually even been interviewed by mainstream media outlets like the New York Times. Newsweek had a video out on him. Also, too, he apparently was arrested last year with an actual, what would be considered an assault weapon. It was a fully automatic weapon, and he is a convicted felon, so he's not supposed to have a weapon at all, according to what my understanding is of Florida law and national law. So all of these things kind of wrapped up. And of course, the immediate thing was the left tried to apply to him that he was a Republican, and he is not. He donated 19 times to different Democratic organizations. He's got social media posts all over the place where he is angry with, Donald Trump and so on and so forth. So there's just all kinds of stuff that is showing up about this guy. But the biggest question in all of this is, one, how did he know that Donald Trump was going to be there? Because reportedly Donald Trump decided to go golfing on a whim, and he just sort of announced it, and it wasn't a pre-planned event. And so he decided to go golfing. This guy, according to one report, this guy apparently had been camped out there for over or close to 11 hours. Now, I'm trying to understand how that could possibly be, because apparently he was on or very close to a public street. And according to some of the photos that I've seen, he wasn't like tucked back into the bushes at all. I mean, he was relatively out in the open. So it's not like this guy was like, he wasn't in camouflage. He wasn't, like Dan Bongino pointed out today, he didn't have a ghillie suit on. He wasn't really, he wasn't really that camouflaged. He had a GoPro camera for whatever reason to videotape the event if he had gotten his shot off. And so, yeah, there's too many questions, not enough answers just yet, but it's still, the point is, this is the second attack in close to 3 months, 2 months. I don't know, 2 to 3 months here. We don't even know anything really about Butler other than the fact that there was massive failures there. And now we've got this one, which appears to be also a massive failure, or now we have what would be considered circumstantial evidence between the two, meaning that this guy knew Donald Trump was going to be there, number one, and two, knew that he was going to go golfing and camped out between, from what I understand, between like the 5th and 7th holes, somewhere in there. So what the hell is going on? Is this like a collaborative effort in an attempt to get Donald Trump because they can't get him in any other way? I mean, not that I'm trying to assign any kind of conspiracy theory to this whole thing, but the fact of the matter is, these are some of the questions that you have to be asking. Any sensible person would be asking this question. And the guy apparently had an AK-47 with the scope on it. That's how it's been identified. So, once again, it's going to turn back to the whole, now we got to ban the quote unquote assault weapons, which aren't even really defined at all. And it was even uglier, too, when you take a look at the rhetoric that's coming out of the mouths of the left. The rhetoric that's coming out of the mouths of the left. They are all jumping on and basically right now they're not saying anything about their rhetoric because, of course, the mirror doesn't look proper to them. They're not talking about their rhetoric. But what they are talking about, of course, is they are talking about the rhetoric of the right that is supposedly dividing this country. Yet I don't see too many people. I mean, I know I mentioned a few things here, but I'm pretty much talking about policy. I'm not necessarily going after or saying, other than the fact that the Democrats are morons. I know they're morons. Only morons vote Democrat. And yet here we have a group of individuals that are calling the extreme MAGA Republicans. That's a favorite of Hakeem Jeffries. The extreme MAGA Republicans, are going to destroy this nation. Donald Trump is the existential, evil that is going to, he's like Hitler without the mustache. I mean, these are all anecdotal quotes of left leaning and left, definitely Democrat left politicians that are saying this stuff. Okay. And so all of this going on and on and on, eventually these people, which, by the way, just so you know, studies are showing that at least 40 to 60% of Democrats have responded in surveys to say that they've been diagnosed with mental illness. You don't see Republicans that way. And there's studies, and I've talked about them here on this program. There's studies that have come out that Christian conservative family values people are happier than Democrats. And I'm sorry, but there is a huge mental illness problem that we have in our country right now. If you just take a look at all of the stuff that's going on. And I'm trying to understand where these lefties and leftists, and again, the fact that this is even remotely close right now in terms of a race is just completely asinine to me. And to have people who are now acting on their instinctual evil ideas to go after a man like Donald Trump, just because of the fact that they've been told multiple times, hey, this guy is the devil, this guy's evil, this guy's, he's the Antichrist. I don't know how many times I've seen that on social media. He's the Antichrist. The Antichrist doesn't get born in America, folks. If you're any kind of a biblical person, you know that the Antichrist is supposed to be born and rise to power in the old Roman Empire. Hello, that's like over in the Middle East, the edges of Italy and Turkey, that's Europe, and so on and so forth. But they sit here and they try to attribute all of the things that are talked about in the Bible to Donald Trump. The mark on the forehead is supposed to be wearing the MAGA hat. No, that's not it. It's not even close. And yet they sit here and they say to themselves, they sit there and they say to themselves, we're going to just blame the right for the things that we do. That's the problem that we have in today's society, unfortunately, is that for whatever reason, they seem to believe that they themselves are completely blameless in all of this. They're completely blameless in all of this. Oh, no. You can't blame us for that. You can't blame us for BLM. That's just people, rioting for civil rights or whatever other kind of, freaking excuses they want to come up with. That's not them. No. We didn't do that. Even though you've encouraged it, your politicians have encouraged it. Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Cori Bush, any of those other folks. I mean, you know, like Bonnie points out, they're just protesting. No, they're not just protesting. When you're burning down somebody else's home or place of business, that isn't protesting. That's called a riot. That's called illegal. I can't seem to understand how they're going to get away, or they can think that they're going to come away from this thinking that they are not to blame. They are clearly to blame. Now, that being said, the rhetoric on both sides of the aisle has gotten pretty heated, and it's going to stay heated as long as things like this continue to occur. This is not something that, this is not something that we are.
Them out, we're going to get them out. But the bottom line, just answer.
Oh, okay. So Donald Trump is speaking right now. So I want to break in on him.
Much easier this time. The border is in much worse shape than it's ever been. This is the worst border there's ever been in any country. They have not done the job that they have to do. I mean, you have Kamala, she was the border czar. I call her the comrade because she's a Marxist. She wants to tax everybody out of business. She wants to raise taxes to 70, 80%. She wants an unrealized capital gain tax, which is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Nobody's ever even heard of such a thing. And they'll put everybody out of business. We'll end up in a depression if she gets in. And very simply, though, we're going to make America great again, greater than ever before. And I love doing it.
Being from Canada, I can probably relate to what that means.
Yeah. We've got some problems.
A crypto entrepreneur based in Montreal here. So it's, it's not always the best feeling as someone who's trying to build something out of, nothing here. Speaking of which, I'm wondering now, I know this is quite different, right? But I know many people in crypto feel this way as we're trying to change the financial system. Quite literally, we're trying to change things and make a difference, but it always feels like there's some sort of a force against us. In your case, do you feel similarly that there's a force out there to get you?
Well, you have a radical left force, and we have forces, I say that we have a lot of evil in the world. The world is a nasty place, and you can see that with some of the things that have happened. We've been treated, I think, very unfairly, but I've done so well. It's an amazing country in some ways, but we have evil forces. You have the outside forces with the enemies, and you call them Russia, China, various places. I don't know that they're enemies. I think we'll get along great with China. I think we'll get along great with Russia. I want to get Russia to settle up with Ukraine and stop this. Millions of people being killed, far greater than the number you read about. But I want to get that done before I even take office. I want to get that done as president-elect because it has to be solved. Too many people dying. Too many cities are just in rubble right now. You look at the culture is just being destroyed. Mm-hmm. We got to get that done, and I'll get it done. There wouldn't have been an October 7th. There wouldn't have been Russia attacking Ukraine. There wouldn't be inflation. All this inflation, which has hurt people so badly. You wouldn't have had that horrible type of withdrawal. We were getting out of Afghanistan, but with dignity and strength. That was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And frankly, Russia would have never gone into Ukraine if it weren't for that. They looked at that and they said, this country is no longer run by Trump. This country is run by stupid people. And we have a great military. I took out ISIS in 4 weeks, and everyone said it was going to take 4 or 5 years. I took them out in 4. Our military is great, but you have to have the right leadership running it. So the bottom line is that it can be nasty. But it's only going to get worse. If I don't win, it's only going to get worse. It's going to get really bad. We'll end up being Venezuela on steroids. We'll end up in 1929 type depressions. And we have to make sure that this person doesn't get in. This is far worse than Biden. That was if you think of it, that was an overthrow of a president. He won. He had 14 million votes. He had no votes. Crazy Nancy Pelosi walked in, and some of the others, and they say, we want you out. He said, I'm not going to get out. I want to run. I was leading him by a lot after the debate, but still he had the right to run. And they literally, it was a coup in the truest sense. This was the first coup of an American president. And I think it's, look, I don't say fair or not fair. He was very nice today. He called up to make sure I was okay, to make sure that, do I have any suggestions or anything? Mm-hmm. We do need more people on my detail because we have 50, 60,000 people showing up to events, and right. Other people don't have that. But he couldn't have been nicer. But I thought he was treated really unfairly. He went through a primary system, he won, and then they threw him overboard. And she got no votes. She got no votes. But she'd be very bad for the country. We have to save our country. We can't play games, and we can't have a Marxist, communist president, because that's not what it's all about. So we're going to do it, and we're going to make our country greater than ever before, and you're going to be happy, and you're going to love your crypto. And as long as you have crypto, you're happy. So I know what makes you happy. Nothing else but crypto.
Yeah. I mean, when the Twitter Spaces was officially announced and that you put the tweet out, a lot of people were like, well, who's this Farouk guy? And obviously, a lot of people started digging into this Farouk guy. And, the main reply that was that I'm just this crypto bro. But you know what, Mr. President, I am a proud crypto bro. And it seems like you're starting to become one of us, if not already. I know for a fact that your children are quite involved in the space. I mean, we have Baron, Don Jr., and Eric on the Twitter Spaces right now. Eric and Don Jr. here, who will be joining us a little later on this programming. But, get into crypto now, because I already see the people on Twitter Spaces really eager to hear you talk about this. At the recent Bitcoin conference, you mentioned that, and I quote, America should be the crypto capital of the world. Yeah. That was a big statement, and I believe the correct one. So why is it not right now?
Well, I think it will be right now. Right now, you have a very hostile SEC. I guess you'd have to say, I don't know, when you say administration, do you call it Biden or do you call it Harris? Nobody really knows what to call it, but maybe we'll say a combination of both. But they've been very hostile toward crypto, toward all of it. And extremely hostile, like nobody can believe. Nobody even understands why. My attitude is different. If we don't do it, China's going to do it. China's doing it anyway.
They are.
But if we don't do it, we're not going to be the biggest, and we have to be the biggest and the best. And, when you look at values, and when you add it all up, the value of this whole thing is bigger than...
Okay, so he's talking crypto right now, which, no offense, I'm not really all that interested in. Is anybody else interested in crypto? If so, I'll keep it going.
It suffers from some credibility lapses.
Just let me know in the chat.
Things were done or not done, but it's very young and very growing. And if we don't do it, China's going to do it. If we don't do it, other countries are going to do it. A lot of countries would like to be in a position. We have the advantage because it's us. But you have a big advantage because it's me, because I do believe in it. I also know a lot of friends that are really into it. And my
so I've only got one vote so far.
Baron knows so much about this.
Right.
Eric, and Baron's a young guy, but he knows it. He talks about his wallet. He's got 4 wallets or something.
All right. Well, okay. So we'll go ahead and bow out. I'll maybe check back if it continues. But anyway, hey, at least I got that technological hurdle taken over. Now, I'm going to tell you probably the reason why that didn't work the first time is right now there's only about 10,000, almost 11,000 people listening to the space. So, anyway, not that I'm blaming this guy, because that's what he does. That's his thing. He's the crypto guy, as he was saying. So there you go. Anyway, all right. That would have been, if it would have been a little bit more conversational about some other stuff, I think we would have been fine. All right, let me go ahead and move on to a couple of things. First of all, I know I want to cut away from the attempted assassination for the moment and cover the ABC debate. It wasn't a debate. You can't really call it a debate anymore. But the thing about it is that this, there was a suggestion and an affidavit, and I've seen the affidavit, although I've seen facsimiles of the affidavit. The affidavit apparently came in before the actual debate happened, and it insinuated a few things. One of the things that it insinuated was the fact that the ABC, quote, moderators already had pre-planning to fact-check Trump and not fact-check Harris. And so one of the things that I found kind of curious, and this is one of the ways that you can double check and bounce things off, is that, there wasn't any indication that there was a potential that had occurred, that they were thinking about, or that they had pre-planned this whole thing. Well, all of that got blown out of the water this weekend. And let me tell you what I'm talking about. So right here in Breitbart, as soon as I can pull it up, there she is, Lindsay Davis. So Lindsay Davis was talking to, I believe, the Los Angeles Times. Yes. So she was talking to the Los Angeles Times, and she admitted the fact that the plan was to only fact check Trump. Okay. That's why would you admit that, knowing that everybody has been, knowing that everybody has been coming down upon you in terms of, your handling of the entire debate. And I'm, because, anyway, it wasn't a debate. Let's just be honest. It was 3-on-1. It was a dog pile. But the thing here is that she admitted it. So the New York Post noted this. So the New York Post says, in an interview with the Los Angeles Times, Davis said that she wants to address concerns that Trump's statements could be allowed to hang there unchallenged by his opponent or moderators, as they were when Trump and Biden debated on CNN in June. Now, here's the thing. That's what you do. You let the people, the two debaters, debate each other. All you are doing as a moderator is just facilitating the event, checking time, making sure things are cut off, so on and so forth. But here's the problem. She didn't even fact check the overwhelmingly obvious lies of things like the Charlottesville thing, the, bloodbath statement, the suckers and losers that was alluded to by Kamala Harris, and the whole abortion idea that got blown out of the water too. It would have been better had she just not had the moderators just not said anything. Just let the two of them go back and forth, say whatever you're going to say, and let the spin rooms deal with the fact checking. Don't fact check in real time. Well, so that just tells you right then and there, even the fact that she's admitting it, that was the plan all along. Which makes you wonder, if that was the plan all along, okay, then what else was the plan all along? Could it possibly have been questions that were submitted to one team versus the other? It's possible. So now that we have this affidavit that made this exact claim, and by the way, it was actually filed, reportedly it was filed in a court, which I don't know why that would be the case, but it was filed in a court the day prior, and made this exact claim that the overall plan was that they would not be fact-checking Trump, that they would be fact-checking Trump and not fact-checking Kamala Harris. And so it's kind of like, all right, now we have a corroboration. See, for you lefties out there who may happen to come across this program at this exact time and at this exact moment, or you're just sitting out there and you're listening to me so you can yell and get some of your anger issues taken out on a person. Believe me, I got big, big shoulders. I'm good to go. But, you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, this is how common sense people with critical thinking skills deal with things like this. We now have a corroboration from one of the people who were right there that this was the plan. So this makes it so that you can actually, back out and understand that there is likely a possibility that the rest of what's in the affidavit is also true. What that did is that just bumped up the veracity of that affidavit, because now it's been corroborated by the exact same people who were involved. Okay. Well, to give an idea, and I'm going to shift back to the assassination attempt. I got some questions or points. Well, actually, before I do that, as part of the fact checking, and I'm sorry, I'm a little scrambled right now because I you had the X thing going on. So anyway, so a little bit of a scramble here. So apologize for that. But one thing that had occurred here is J.D. Vance went up against the venerable Dan Bash on CNN. And let's just say that Dan didn't come out very well in this entire situation. Now, Frank Luntz, Luntz, is the account that posted this, and Frank's a leftist moron. But Frank basically puts out and says, J.D. Vance admits he made up claims, quote unquote, create stories, his words, of Haitian migrants eating people's pets in Springfield, Ohio. That is not what J.D. Vance was dealing with there. That was not what J.D. Vance was referring to. Just like with everything with Trump, they take it out of context. And yeah, so anyway, let's go ahead and listen to Dan Bash and J.D. Vance and how they dealt with one another here on the, hang on just a second. Dan Bash. Oh, it's a good view of JD there. He's got his mouth open, but yeah, let's go ahead and listen to this. Oh, shoot. My bad. Hang on. What happened here? Why is this not playing? Oh, I know why.
American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people.
Sorry,
then that's what I'm going
to... Let me back this up so that we can get the entire thing. My apologies. Here we go. Let's try that again.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana. Because
you just said that you're creating a story.
Public policy.
Sorry, you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it. The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump.
Okay, so what did J.D. Vance say there? He literally accused the media, meaning CNN, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, or MSLSD, if you listen to Mark Levin, and all these other ones. He is basically saying we're trying to call attention to a plight of a town in the American people. And if I have to make up stories to get you assholes, pardon my French, to listen, I'm going to do that. But he never said he made up this one. And at the very end, when she was asking about it, he basically said, look, these are reports from my constituents. Remember, he's still senator in Ohio. He's still a senator from Ohio. And so this entire freaking thing about the cats and the dogs being eaten and so on and so forth, he's getting it through firsthand accounts, reportedly, through firsthand accounts of what he is dealing with his constituents. So, how these people can like look at themselves in the mirror, I have literally no idea. But let me also point out about the challenges that we have with the whole idea of the president potentially being, or the former president, soon to be next president, being attacked or being shot at and being set up and attempted again. Here's our illustrious oatmeal brains in chief, Joe Biden, who's caught coming out and talking about it. And I just want you to understand something. Whenever you're a public speaker, you've got to be very, very cognizant of what it is that you're saying, because if you say the wrong things or you say it in the wrong phrasing, you can do things you can do things and say things that can incite the moron crazies that are out there with regards to this. But here, just take a listen to what Joe Biden is saying with regards to what happened over the weekend. So here's Joe coming out of the White House, and he's coming up to the press corps.
God, the president's okay. I think we got a full report so far. We're down there tonight. One thing I want to make clear. The service needs more help. And I think Congress should respond to their needs. They actually need more funds. So that's what I'm talking about. Are you concerned more money? This environment. More personnel, they need more money. What kind of help do you say? I think they need more personnel. I think they maybe it may just decide whether they need more personnel or not. Are you concerned more personnel?
Okay. So he just announced in front of everybody, including all of our allies and enemies throughout the world, because believe me, they are watching. He just announced that the Secret Service is understaffed. You never, ever, ever say that. You don't talk about that. He pretty much told them that they don't have enough money and they don't have the manpower. Now, he was focused mostly on the manpower. And realistically, we already know this. We know this is the case because we've already seen and heard about it from Butler, Pennsylvania. But that is completely out of line to even bring that up in front of the press, to even mention it. But, I mean, again, now we have a potential where people are crazies are going to be like, oh, hey, yeah, I got less chance or less opportunity here to deal with this.
It's just,
and, God, I'm doing horrible on queuing this stuff up, but it's stuff like that that can help embolden, these folks, embolden these morons that are out there that want to do this, that are looking for the fame and the glory of doing this or whatever. And now you also have other, folks such as Dan Goldman, who has got to be one of the stupidest people in Congress. I'm sorry. He just is. No, I take that back. I'm not sorry. He is just stupid. Dan Goldman, who was on MSNBC, show Inside, with Jen Psaki. That's my word for her. But, he apparently, went on and was talking to her. And so, well, let's just take a listen and see what he says here. There he is. I know people don't want to see him, but here we go.
It's just unquestionable at this point that that man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated. It's just
okay. So what part of all of that was constructive criticism of maybe Trump's policies? Give you an answer. It is exactly zero. This guy added to the rhetoric that is causing these morons to go and do the things that they're doing, to go and attempt to try and take out the president. Now, you tie that with the fact that Joe Biden is saying, yeah, there's not enough people. You have some wide open spaces here. Now, normally I'm going to be honest with you. Normally, I don't agree with the idea that we can necessarily hold someone like Dan Goldman responsible for a person going and doing a horrible thing. But at the same time, there is a level of responsibility from the left in terms of how these people are viewing someone the likes of Trump right now. I mean, you can have all kinds of issues with his policies. You can have all kinds of issues with his personal life. You can have all kinds of issues with the way the man dresses or looks. But you can't sit here and say over and over, days on end, and keep in mind, we're talking now years on end because of January 6th, 2020, from there all the way up until now, 2024. And you can't sit here and say this guy is a menace. He's a little Hitler. He's, destructive to our democracy, which, by the way, we're a republic. That he is going to lock everybody up. He's going to get rid of, he's going to kill people. He's going to do all kinds of these, just this massive amount of extremely divisive rhetoric. And you can't sit here and tell me that that isn't a contributor to the situation, especially when you're dealing with now 2 attacks in as many months on the president, the former president of the United States, and the leading candidate on the Republican Party. So that's not the only thing that's questionable too. Some people are asking some serious questions, but I wanted to kind of address this really quickly because of the fact that there are people that still live under the felonious or fallacy, I should say, the fallacy of the idea that every single cop that carries a weapon is like this crack shot of a marksmanship individual. So on X, there was there's a poster who basically said that the Secret Service fired 4 shots at the perpetrator this last Sunday. Secret Service are excellent marksmen. How did they miss 4 times? And she of course asks, not a conspiracy question, this conspiracy theory question, just a legit question. Well, I went ahead and answered it. I'm going to answer it for you right now. The fact of the matter is that not all Secret Service, they have a minimum qualification level that they have to pass. It's just like, learning how to shoot in the military. You have a minimum qualification that you need to be able to score in order to pass that phase of training. But that doesn't mean that every individual is an expert marksman. And what's even worse is many times the training gets cut off because of budget cuts or needing to spend money elsewhere. You also have to remember they're spending money on bullets. So oftentimes what happens is the individuals are trained only to a basic level. You also need to understand, too, that the Secret Service isn't necessarily responsible per se, for firing back. They're allowed to, when they see somebody, in this particular case, when they saw the rifle guy, they had to draw their weapon and shoot at them. But you also need to understand, too, that their purpose is to stand in the way and hopefully prevent, first of all, discover threats and eliminate them without firing a shot. They're supposed to put up protective bubbles so that nobody can get into that protective bubble in order to go after the president. But as a very last resort, their responsibility is to be the one to take the bullet for the president. Again, it doesn't mean all these people are crack shots. It's not like what you see in the movies and on the TV shows with regards to they pull their weapon and fire and the bullet hits center mass in the middle every single time. It doesn't happen that way in real life. There's all kinds of variables that can come into play. The wind, it could have been a windy day. There could have been, the person could have been running on the move. That's going to throw your shot off. It doesn't take much to take that bullet. If anything was learned about Butler, Pennsylvania, that should have been it. It doesn't take much to take that bullet and put it just a little off target. This is part of the reason why people who are in these fields have to train and train and train and train consistently. And sometimes, in the case of the government or police organizations, they don't put a lot of training into it. It's a sad fact, but they don't. All right. So really quickly, in the minutes that I have left, I have a couple of other stories to point out to you that are in the show's description that I really think you guys ought to take a look and read for certain. I'm going to try and cover some of them, or some of it here. Sorry, I had to wet my whistle there. All right. So this is this whole idea that Kamala Harris has kind of put out in front of everybody is that we have this campaign full of joy, and not a single, even in her last interview, did she actually answer the question, what are one or two specific items that would set you, that would do what you are trying to do? And of course, I'm paraphrasing that, but the key here, though, is that Harris's joy, at least according to the American Institute for Economic Research here, Harris's joy would cost the U.S. dearly. Now, she's mentioned multiple times that she's had economists saying that her plan is better for the economy than Donald Trump's. Sorry, but Donald Trump had 4 years in office, and we saw what his economy looks like. So I'm not sure that I'm going to necessarily take the word of an economist, which, by the way, those same economists talk about trickle-down economics, and Thomas Sowell has, as far as I know, never been taken up on his bet with regards to trickle-down economics being an actual true economic theory, which it isn't, just so you know. But Harris's joy would cost the U.S. dearly, and what they're talking about here is her calls for price controls on groceries, ignoring the fact that, first of all, it would be clamping down on technically price gouging, which that's not the case, because trust me, if the government decides, hey, we're gonna price fix everything, you're going to end up with a massive amounts of shortages. And this has been proven, not just in the theory of like Econ 101. This has been proven every single place that they have attempted to put in mandatory price caps. There's shortages, portion shrinkages, discriminatory sales practices, so on and so forth. Well, then we also have her growth-killing tax plan, which is essentially, she's among the whole, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, which I really have to ask, if you honestly believe that she's not left-wing, why is it that she's following with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who are supposed to be left of her? Even though I'm telling you right now that she's not. In 2019, she was rated as being the most left-wing senator. But in this particular case, her growth-killing tax plan is to tax the rich to pay their fair share. Well, as I've pointed out on this program multiple times, the top 1% of economic earners already pay more than 40% of federal income taxes. And yet she still wants to raise rates on these folks. They're already paying almost half the tax bill, and she's looking to add to that. The same thing with corporate taxes. So raising corporate taxes goes and inhibits what's called capital formation, which again, when you're dealing with businesses, what they're trying to do is they're trying to gain more money. What they intend to do is they take some of their profits and they reinvest into the company, into things like research and development, or potentially upgrading and improving efficiency on their systems, or maybe even going so far as to hire more people in order to be able to sustain the load. But what this ends up doing by adding further taxes is that now they're going to have to carry those taxes and put them down farther, add pricing. They're going to have less money to invest in all of those other things in terms of into their business, or any other things. Maybe they do wage cuts for workers instead of wage increases. This money doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has to be earned by the corporation in the form of selling products and goods and services to the American people, or potentially overseas if they're selling overseas. But then the last one happens to be the most worst and horrible thing with regards to taxes, is her idea to tax unrealized capital gains. I don't have the money from any kind of investment, from any kind of gains that I've made on any sort of investment. It's only on paper. And believe it or not, this is the way that the majority of what we would consider the millionaires and billionaires of the country and of the world, they actually don't own like real money. It's all an evaluation based upon things that they have invested in, whether it's Elon Musk with the Tesla stock. So he has stock in the company. The stock is worth X dollars, whatever that is. Same thing with X, but is worth a certain amount of dollars. If that goes up next year, great. If that goes down next year, and he's already paid taxes on the gains that he never realized, he never got the money back, and the tax or the value goes down, well, now he's been basically ripped off. He's been taxed on something that he never got an opportunity to use. This is a problem. And again, it's going to, crash, according to Mark Cuban, who is a freaking flaming leftist. I can't even believe that he said this. But he actually went and stated that her unrealized capital gains tax is going to kill Wall Street. It's going to completely kill Wall Street. So she also has this idea of making a home affordability thing. And the American Institute for Economic Research says that that's actually rubbish as well. Because what Harris is looking to do is she's just looking to gift somebody $25,000. Now, if you do that for one person, okay. But you would go and do this for potentially millions of people. And it's going to be a subsidy. And it's going to be just like the student loan grants or student loan forgiveness. This is a bad economic policy. And if you are a lefty who doesn't seem to understand this, I don't know what to tell you. You guys need to go back to Econ 101, because believe me, all of this is pretty freaking basic, low level of understanding stuff. All right, folks, I have reached the end of my hour. I'm actually gone over a little bit. So here's the thing. If you would, please, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. Once there, make sure and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and click that green follow button, because that will make sure that you are notified every time that I go live. Also, too, if you are already signed in there, please hit that thumbs up, as well as hit all of the likes and thumbs ups and, appreciated buttons across all of my platforms, because they all help to bring exposure and attention to my videos. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening. God bless America, and please, God bless Donald Trump. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.